with Pakistan to normalize the ties. So the military may go ahead with more attacks. That has been increasing in the last 1 year or so. LOC maybe infiltration attempts, firing across LOC, destroying this thing, all those things will be there. So at the same time, India should be very careful about, we should take preventive steps. We should increase the vigil along the border, because another attack on an army camp like Pathankot or Uri means that India has to take last year ki tarah surgical strike, etc., which will have other repercussions also, unknown repercussions also. We cannot ensure that the conflict will go out of control and become a war, and war is unthinkable with a nuclear armed enemy. And secondly, that will set us back economically. Our focus is now to revive the economy, and war will take away all the resources. Fiscal deficit will go to 6%, 7%. So that is completely unavoidable, that will be avoidable. So vigil is very important. So already we started last year 5-layer security plan, etc. That should be implemented to prevent the infiltration at the border. That's it. Both BSF, army, watchtowers and intelligence gathering, all those things should be strengthened. But you have to expect this. That's what the thing there. Okay. So India now plans to become not only a land power. Slowly we are dawning on India that we have to become an ocean power also. As India's aspirations, India is no more satisfied being a South Asian power. We want an Asian power and a global power. So the focus is now shifting more towards sea. Indo-Pacific power, not only an Indian Ocean power, Indo-Pacific power. So that is why Prime Minister visited Fiji, Prime Minister visited Seychelles, Mauritius, and we are saying that we are the collective security provider. So even last week also, Indian ships have thwarted an attempt in Gulf of Aden, this thing 2-3 days back also. So Indian Navy is patrolling all these areas, from Malacca to this thing. So a lot of increased outlay has been given to Navy to become a 3-dimensional Navy. So aircraft carriers, submarines, first Scorpion has come, produced in India. Right, aircraft carriers, nuclear submarines. So this is all part of India's overall strategy to become both military power. This is also there, economic this thing is also there, component. So India is reviving IORA, Indian Ocean Rim Association, BIMSTEC, and Asia, Africa, Japan ke saath corridor, Project Mosam. All of them are ensuring that we don't neglect. The reason being, Indian Ocean is becoming very important. It's a very important sea lanes of communication now. It's more and more traffic because the countries of this that global trade ke wajah se. In future, Chinese Navy ka presence is increasing. It is becoming a more threat to India, not only a land threat. 1962 was a land war, but if the war now comes, it will be also a sea war also will occur. So we have to strengthen our Navy accordingly. So that is the reason why India is now getting closer to US. So only US can help India to become a naval power, important naval power, and India has to coordinate. That is why LMOA has been signed. So India to reduce the string of pearls had to coordinate with the American Navy. So for that, American Navy has to come to Indian ports and the naval bases, etc. That is why India, for its own strategic purpose, have signed it. So India has purchased, for example, amphibious assault ship USS Trenton. India mein INS Jalashwa has been purchased. We have purchased maritime reconnaissance aircraft PC Orion for long range reconnaissance into the deep oceans ke liye. So all these are joint effort to modernize Indian Navy, to step up its efforts due to Chinese increased presence in Indian Ocean. Lot of we have to protect our coastal assets. Lot of refineries are coming up. Is there nuclear power installations are there? We have satellite launching centers. We have missile launching centers. We have got rocket launching. All of them are on the coast. So all these strategies just need to be protected. Only a strong Navy can protect all this assets like KG Basin. So India needs to work more on getting minerals from the deep ocean, polymetallic nodules and all. So future mein ocean ka importance bahut zyada. That's why India is promoting blue economy concept, a joint development of the Indian Ocean rim countries led by India. That is called as blue economy. The regions which are connected by Indian Ocean, India should take the lead in their economic development. So we should prevent China. That is the problem there. If we give them small pace to China, China will increase it to too much. So India has to take the lead proactively with a mixture of cultural and economic diplomacy, and with the help of like-minded countries like Japan, Australia, should ensure economic development of this. And security we can take care of. For example, piracy is a joint threat for everybody, every country in the region. So, so this is the focus, not merely only based on land, but also on sea. So another big issue is the recent the unpredictable situations in West Asia, particularly Qatar, Saudi Arabia. Right. Both of them are Wahhabi countries. Only two Gulf countries with Wahhabism. Others are not Wahhabi. Kuwait, UAE are not Wahhabi. Right. Qatar and Saudi are followers of Wahhabi. That's a very strange thing that is happening. But it is inevitable. So Saudi and its fellow countries accuse Qatar of terrorism, supporting terrorists. But Qatar is part of the Saudi initiative in Yemen. Right. So very paradoxical, because the issue is lot more is there. So Qatar is the world's largest exporter of gas. Right. So Qatar has achieved self-sufficiency in economy. They are not dependent on Saudi Arabia on this. Previously they were a poor country. Saudi Arabia is the master of oil. Right, bigger country. So Saudi Arabia considers itself superior as a dominant power in the Gulf region, and the leader of the Gulf Sunni Arab monarchies against the Shia Iran. But Qatar has its own bigger power ambitions, because they are self-sufficient in gas. They are one of the big exporters, and their economy is booming. And gas is slowly replacing oil as an important hydrocarbon in the world, because oil is very polluting comparatively. And recently, so most of its gas reserves come. And Qatar has own ambitions. What is the ambition? That comes through Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera is owned by the Qatar royal family. Qatar is, being a small country, it's going to host the Olympics, 2022 Olympics. Bigger ambitions are there. Right. Al Jazeera is seen as the most important instrument during Arab Spring. Al Jazeera supports the independent movements, Egypt, Syria, even in Bahrain, which is also a monarchy, Sunni monarchy supported by Saudi Arabia. But they support all these independent movements. So this is, Saudi Arabia feels that, for example, Muslim Brotherhood is supported by Qatar in Egypt against the present military government supported by Saudi Arabia. So Muslim Brotherhood is a pan-Arabic institution, even branches in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia feels that Arab Spring may even come to Saudi, and they will start demanding more democracy and overthrow the monarchy. So that's the fear, biggest fear is that. The Qatari support. Qatari oil family only owns Al Jazeera, which is the most watched news channels throughout the Middle East. So through that, they have soft power, which Saudi Arabia lacks. Saudi Arabia is seen as a backward Wahhabi country. Qatar is seen as a modern forward country because of Al Jazeera, controlling the mind of the Arabs on the street.
Qatar is the largest exporter of oil or gas?
Gas. Qatar gas, no oil. Previously, before the oil gas was discovered, it was a poor country. So it depend upon Saudi Arabia economically. Now they are not dependent. There are only 20% population is only Qatari. 80% is immigrants working there in mega projects, building, construction. They want to become the next Dubai in Doha. They want to promote Doha as the next Dubai in the free trade, all those things, duty free, etc. It is the country which also doesn't have antipathy towards Iran. The reason is economic. That is the world's largest gas field offshore, shared by Qatar and Iran. half of it. Half is here, half is there. Now what happens is Iran has been under sanctions. This is a joint field, right? So obviously oil will flow under the sea, flow from this side to that side and all that, right? So Iran has been under sanctions. So Iran was not able to develop it completely. South Pars, both call it by different name, doesn't matter, but shared by both. So its economy is linked with that of Iran, right? So Iran has told Qatar to impose a moratorium on the development of the field. Both of them are extracting, but not much, because both do not have they have to depend upon Western oil companies only for extraction of gas. Arabs are fools, so they don't have the technology. So Qatar has announced a moratorium 10 years back because of Iranian sanctions. Iran told you also don't take gas, because you will take my gas also. Existing projects continue karo, don't start new projects on the gas field. That Qatar has accepted. But now sanctions have been removed, UN sanctions have been removed. Now Iran has announced plans to develop his side. So in April 2017, Qatar has also removed the moratorium. Okay, but don't develop karenge. And in May, they imposed the moratorium. The sanctions come. And that has come exactly 1 month after Trump visited Saudi Arabia. The first visit of Trump to Saudi Arabia. Without American support, Saudi Arabia cannot do anything. So Americans are given the support to isolate Iran. Because Saudi Arabia, Qatar, last year, all of the Saudis' friends have also stopped diplomatic relations with Tehran. Qatar is still maintaining. Because Qatar doesn't want fight with Iran, because they share the field. So that is the most important source of revenue for them. They don't want to jeopardize that. Simple. So there are many issues behind it, but the essentially an economic angle, right? So more production from the joint gas field could even jeopardize American shale gas. So Trump is supported by the American oil industry. That is a big funder which comes there. All are interrelated. It's not Saudi Arabia versus Qatar, because Trump openly supported this ban, but Tillerson said no. It's a big fight going on within their administration. Trump is a fool, short-term minded. So the condition what they put, close down Al Jazeera. So there are many Muslim Brotherhood and Syrian opposition leaders living there. Throw them out and remove all diplomatic connections with Iran. But obviously Qatar cannot accept this. So there is a stalemate continues there. Again, there is a difference there. Initially, the fight is between the Shia leadership of Bashar al-Assad versus the Sunni parties. Sunnis are supported, Sunni rebels are supported by Saudi, Qatar and Turkey, all three. Turkey is also Sunni. But later this has been hijacked by extremists, Al-Nusra Front supporting Al-Qaeda. Right. But the groups supporting, there are not only one group, there are many groups are there. Some groups are supported by Qatar, some groups are supported by Saudi, and they are also fighting with each other. So Saudi is also angry with not only in Egypt but also Syria wala factor. Yes, this is a fight for supremacy. So both ke paas paisa hai. Saudi is a traditional leader in the Arab Peninsula. So how can you do something against me? And tomorrow you can do against me also. Right? So therefore I want to nip it in the bud. So you have to do this, otherwise we'll put an embargo. Embargo was put on land, sea, air, all embargo was there. But now what happened? Now Qatar has been importing most of its food and other vegetables etc. from Saudi Arabia. Now they are getting it from. They also, another thing they said is, now Qatar has also got signed a defense deal with Turkey. So as per that, Turkey will put its military troops in Qatar. So they want the annulment of that treaty. Right. Against whom you are afraid? Qatar is afraid of Saudi Arabia. Only one. That is, they also know that at some point of time Saudi will do something. So that's why they signed a defense deal with Turkey. And Turkey-US relations is also very bad now. So it's all bigger issues are playing out there. So Qatar has refused to accept the demands, and but now they are getting the alternative supplies, maybe at a higher cost from Iran. Right. So this of course could be affecting long-term India, the problem. Because India enjoys good relations with both Saudi Arabia and Qatar. And India gets most of its gas not from Qatar but from Oman. Saudi oil this thing also we are reducing it. We are shifting it to Iraqi oil, which is much cheaper. But still, both countries have good relations, and for India's energy security, both of them are important. Any overt conflict like war will be disastrous, and oil prices, gas prices will go through the roof, which will be a disaster for an importing country like India. But on our own, we cannot do much because we don't want to interfere in the fight between two brothers. They call themselves as brothers. Arabs bhi hai, Muslims bhi hai, Sunnis bhi hai, and both follow same ideology. So we cannot interfere with that. We are far away from the whole scenario there. So the only person who can do that, all that mediation, is probably US. But Trump has taken a one-sided view supporting Saudi Arabia in this. But there can be a samta, because now Saudi Arabia is now opened the border to allow the Hajj pilgrims from Qatar. So we have to build upon this small opening which has come to normalize the ties between both. There's a blah blah blah, kuch nahi hai. What you have to say is there is a lot of political, economic and strategic angle to the ongoing tussle between Qatar and Saudi Arabia. But it's not a very simplistic solution nahi hai. See, they gave some money to some groups operating in Syria. Some Qataris were kidnapped in Iraq by some groups, right? Sunni groups operating in Syria. So then to release them, they gave $1 billion as ransom. Saudi Arabia say ये drama है. तो उसको पैसा देने के लिए this kidnapping drama has been done by Qatar. So that is the last fight, immediate. Reason they said you are supporting terrorists. So that's the problem. Whomsoever Saudi Arabia supports are not terrorists, but whomsoever their enemies support are terrorists. That cannot be the argument for it. So there are different angle states. The jockeying for position in Egypt, because 3 Al Jazeera journalists are imprisoned in Egypt. The military government which is supporting. Egypt has also joined this coalition also there. So Saudi and no other country in the Gulf wants the Muslim Brotherhood to grow, because that's a pan-Arabic organization. It's not restricted to Egypt. Right.
Sir, regarding India and Pakistan, raising issue in UN, how does it impact India?
I'm not getting you.
Raising issue in UN and
UN में.
reply, how does it impact India?
कुलभूषण जाधव, ICJ, that is not UN.
No.
ये वाला फाइट तो हर साल होता है.
आजकल
ज़्यादा नहीं है, ये हर साल होता है. This is the time, September, October is the time annual meeting of UN takes place. So Pakistan will raise the issue, whoever goes, whether Pakistani PM goes or their foreign minister goes. So Modi has been going for the last 3 years. This year he did not go, because 2 months before only he has gone to meet Trump. So now he has sent Sushma Swaraj. So sometimes prime ministers go, sometimes foreign ministers go. Whoever goes, Pakistan will raise the issue. Every year they will raise the Kashmir issue, and India will reply also. So this happens every year during this time. Nothing new. So even when a civilian government is there, he'll be thrown out if he doesn't rise, but he'll be mild. Nawaz Sharif will be mild in the criticism. That's all.
The tone has
Relatively. Now hawkish. Both sides are hawkish. That's the problem. When one side become hawkish, other side also become hawkish. Right. So it's like pre-independence. Hindu fundamentalism and Muslim fundamentalism fed upon each other. Same thing. Here there also Taliban and here RSS will feed upon each other. The fear of other. There the fear of Hindu Rashtra. Here the fear of Muslims becoming majority and Islamic jihadism. So it is feed upon each other, creating fear psychosis among the domestic population, preventing any rapprochement. And both ko ye politics bhi acha hai. So both will not allow normalization of ties, both groups.
So Kulbhushan Yadav's issue. There are voices in Pakistan criticism that he took it to the international forum.
Correct.
He had said like issues like
They say ICJ has no issue.
They should have been
No, ICJ. For that you should briefly also you can do that. If you have to see it from Indian point of view, not from Pakistani point of view. Pakistan they are criticizing their government for accepting the jurisdiction of ICJ. That is their internal issue. We don't have to bother about that. So the claim is Kulbhushan Jadhav was a ex-naval officer. So he was, according to Pakistan, he was caught in Balochistan. He was a spy of Ra. So that's a proof. But Indian account is he after